Hello folks, Mink here, and welcome back to Planescape Torment, where we are going to start talking to some of the people around here in the Gathering Dust Bar. And I noticed in the last two sessions, which is a few videos or so, that the mouse wasn't visible, which kind of bugs me because I was circling things, like trying to emphasize things with the mouse, but you guys couldn't see that. But anyway, let's get on to this. We already talked to Mortai Gravesend about Seer the Skeptic. As you approach, the elderly woman turns and stares at you. Wow, look who's coming a-calling on Seer today. That's Dirt's son. She looks you up and down and shakes her head in disbelief. By every power and its mother, boy, what crypt did you crawl out of? I do not think saying fresh from the mortuary would be a wise idea. We could joke. Yeah, sure. She barks a laugh that rattles your ears. Ha! Not here unless you want to die of boredom. Oh, what's wrong with here? Shh. Someone pinch your sense and your sight, boy. She waves her hand around the bar. Look around. What do your eyes tell you? A bunch of fun-loving dustmen drinking happily and conversing merrily, celebrating life to its fullest. Oh, man. A dustman bar. Very good, Seer chuckles dryly, though she doesn't seem to be laughing at you. At the risk of explaining myself, dustmen are the dullest breed of dullards ever to nest in sigil, always speaking of death reverently, like it's some holy union that every creature in the multiverse should strive for. Shh. But you're a dustman. A dustman? I suppose. Seer sniffs. Shh. I've seen enough sand pass through the hourglass while wearing these robes. This body's almost ready to pay the ferryman. She chuckles, but there's not much mirth in it. Are you afraid of dying? Of course I am, boy. Who isn't? She frowns and glances around. Well, except the dustmen. They're not afraid because they've been swallowing so much of their own bat droppings over the decades they've blinded themselves into thinking that death is some kind of release. Shh. So what sparked this crisis of faith? She shrugs. Life, I suppose. She frowns. Ha, never you mind. I won't bore you with the niggling details. I'd like to know, actually. I mean, I did ask. Oh, would you? She looks at you skeptically. Shh. How old do you take me for, boy? Old. She snorts. Well, you're wrong. I'm really old. Now, I spent most of my long years teaching dustmen. I've seen many dustmen whelps grow within our order, taught them the ways of the faction, kept the faith, preached the tenets of the faction. She frowns. And so on and so on. No questions, no doubt, this life was merely an antechamber that led to the true death. What happened? Well, a half-month back I went sick with the fever. She sighs. I thought it was the end. It rattled my cage. How? Her face becomes a stone. There's something about having your faction members circle around your deathbed like a pack of pale-faced ghouls, nodding and agreeing that your suffering and dying is all for the best. Oh, Seer is so fortunate. She shall soon be relieved of the burden of life. Burden of life? That's when it struck me. That there's something, a queer expression comes over her features, addled about not appreciating your life. The dustman keeps saying that life is misery and suffering. Is it? That we should be happy to pass on into oblivion? Should we? She shakes her head. Questions, questions, and precious few answers. Uh, well, it doesn't sound like you believe in the Dustmen philosophy anymore. I suppose I have got a swarm of doubts all buzzing in my skull. She rubs her temples. Hard to get them all to be quiet sometimes. They need to be fed some answers, and I haven't got them all worked out yet. What will you do? To be square, boy, I don't know. Sears sighs. That's the problem with doubt. I can't even trust that what I'm feeling is true, or if I'm scared of death only because of my brush with the fever, or even what I should do. Is this a passing thing? I don't know. Ooh, it looks like we can either keep her as a dustman or tell her to move on. I'll go with the second one. Seer, I would treat this as a test of your belief. It sounds like these feelings are only temporary. All those years of devotion to the Dustmen could not have been false. Hey, 500 experience. Seer stares at you, then nods slowly. Maybe so, maybe so. She frowns, her face wrinkling up in concentration. I'll have to chew it over some more. You should. It's no small matter. Well, now, enough of me rattling on about my woes. Seer stares at your scars. You look like you've shared a few handshakes with death yourself. Hasn't that changed your views somewhat? Doesn't that make you appreciate life a bit more? You know, I'm actually going to say it. Well, my condition is unique. I woke up in the mortuary. I think they mistook me for a corpse and were prepared to bury me. The strange thing is, I think I actually had died and got better. Seer blinks. You're rattling my coffin. It's true. Strange are the ways of the plains, and I've seen too much to throw any tale out with the wash. She studies your face. If it's true, why does this happen? All I know is I woke up in the mortuary with no memory and covered with enough wounds to kill me 3 times over. Now don't be saying that too loud, she glances around. Most peculiar. Never heard of anything like that. Shame about the memories. You have any idea why this happens? Nay, not a one. Never knew anyone who death wouldn't take. Until now. Well, perhaps I could ask you some other questions. Questions, eh? Well, you can ask. Seer looks at you with a steely eye, then smiles. Crypt Walker. I am searching for a man named Farad. Have you seen him? Seer's face crumples into a frown. That dog. He's the worst of the collector lot. I heard he has his kip set up somewhere in Ragpicker Square, many streets west of the mortuary gate. Dangerous place, though. Some of those collectors aren't patient enough to wait for folks to die so they can sell them for jink. I am not going to read all this because we know what collectors are. Some other questions. Wanted to ask you about some of the Dustmen in particular. No harm in it. Who's on your mind? Can you tell me about Mortai? Mortai? Ha! I thought you were going to ask about a Dustman. She spits. There's no Dustman who's less a Dustman than that jink-smacking, bone-box-rattling lackwit. What do you mean? Mortai's so anxious to impress his betters by getting the most dead contracts signed that I wonder if he'll ever be a Dustman. I don't understand. He's eager to get contracts signed, boy. He's concerned about his reputation. He's thinking of his career in the Dustmen. That alone says it all. I still don't understand. It said that passions kill, Seer snorts. Shh. For Dustmen, it's the opposite. Passions keep you alive, and if you can't strip yourself of passions, whether eagerness, greed, or ambition, then you're doomed to never truly die, because life will always hold a piece of you. Can I ask you about some other Dustmen? I met a scribe named Dahl at the mortuary. Do you know him? Shh, Dahl? He was my instructor in the philosophical arts during my early training at the mortuary, and a crusty fool to boot. He's ill, so my ears tell me. I bet he'll even bore death with his presence. Is he dying? Shh, sicker than a spotted dog he is. Not much sand left in the hourglass for him. I met a guide at the mortuary, so ago. Do you know him? That boy used to be a regular around here. Don't know what happened to him. Could be he was shaken up after his friend died. Explain. One of his friends was killed in the hive a few weeks ago, torn apart by rats. She shakes her head. Messy business. Has Soago always been a guide at the mortuary? No, only for the past few months, and last I heard he was just sent off for some missionary duty, but I don't know where. One of the embalmers in the mortuary, Iveen. Do you know her? Who? A strange young woman, poor eyesight, near deaf, talons for hands. Seer shakes her head. Maybe she's a new initiate. I never heard of her. Have you seen a journal recently? I'm missing mine. What does it look like? No idea. If you don't know what it looks like, how do you expect to find it? I'm beginning to wonder that myself. I must take my leave.
All right.
Who else is there? Oh, Emmerich. You see a heavy-set man with dark skin and grim features. He is dressed in dustmen robes and is regarding you with a stony gaze. Greetings. You have the look of one lost. The man's voice is like stone settling. Did the wind send you, or are you here with purpose? Who are you? I am Emmerich, factotum and initiate of the Fourth Circle. Is this your bar? If you measure ownership in copper, this is not my establishment. If you measure ownership in spirit, it is mine. He pauses as if trying to emphasize a point. The dustmen here are my students. They are under my protection. Can I ask you some questions? Can you tell me about the dead contracts? Do you wish to sign the dead contract? What is it exactly? In exchange for 50 copper commons, the dead contract gives the Dustman faction the rights to your corpse after death. Do you wish to sign the dead contract? No, I had some other questions. I'm searching for a man named Farad. Have you seen him? I would know why you seek the collector Farad. I wish to speak with him. As do I. He has made such a thing difficult. He speaks through other men. Emmerich falls silent for a moment. When two men speak through other men, a little is said and much is lost. Why do you want to speak with Farad? The collector Farad has brought many corpses to the mortuary of late. One must ask where these bodies are from. Tell me more about the bodies. Some are recent dead. They still have their last moments in their eyes. Many more bodies are centuries dead. The dust of ages lies upon their bones. One must ask where these bodies are from. Perhaps I could find out where these bodies are from. How would you do such a thing? I would track down Farad and ask him. If you spoke with the collector Farad and returned with his answers, you will have done a great service for the Dustmen. Find where the dead he brings to us are from, and you will be rewarded. Very well, I will find Farad, speak to him, and find out where these dead bodies he brings you are from. Emmerich nods. Your path is our path. Return here when you have the collector Farad's answers. Can you tell me where he is? It is not known to me where the collector Farad is. He hides from the eyes of the Dustmen. I would seek other collectors and ask them your question. Very well. Can you tell me about the Dustmen faction? Dustmen seek the true death. Some call it oblivion, but this is incorrect. To Dustmen, the true death is freedom from the chains of this false life. False life? This life that many cling to with their emotions is a false existence. As long as one clings to it, they will continually be reborn into it. One must divest themselves of emotion to escape this cycle. I see. Can you tell me about how your faction is organized? Dustmen are organized into 5 circles. The 5th circle is made of the lowest rank of Dustmen, initiates. The 1st circle is comprised of the highest ranking Dustmen, the ruling body of our faction. You know what? Screw it. I would like to join the Dustmen faction. If you desire to join the Dustmen faction, I will hear your request. Yeah, sure, I desire to join the Dustmen faction. If you desire to join the Dustmen faction, then passion rules your mind. Passion's path is not a Dustman's path. Okay. I misspoke. I have no desire to join the Dustmen faction. I merely believe what the Dustmen believe. Very well. Do you know our philosophy? Yes. Recite it. The goal of all Dustmen is to reach the true death, oblivion. This life that many cling to with their emotions and passions is a false one. As long as one clings to it, one will continually be reborn into it. One must divest themselves of emotion to escape this cycle. Do you believe it? Not entirely. Belief may come with time's passing. Is your conviction so strong that our philosophy shall never have a home in your mind? I would like to put my uncertainty to time's test. I will spend time among the Dustmen and examine my beliefs. Then it shall be tested. Speak with Initiate hold on, he has a very difficult to pronounce name. Norach. He is here in the bar. Return when you have done what he has asked of you. I will speak with him. I had some questions first, though. I am in search of a journal. These eyes have seen no journal. Perhaps your search will take you elsewhere. I will look elsewhere then. Farewell. Yeah, this guy. You see a spindle-thin dustman in dirty black robes. His stiff black hair springs forth from his skull like a crown of spikes, and his leper-white skin is drawn sharply across his skull. He is frowning into his drink and mumbling to himself. Norach. The dustman looks up, blinks once, then looks you up and down, studying you. As he studies you, he takes one of his spiked locks and points at himself with it. Norach. Initiate. Dustmen. Guard. Emmerich told me to speak to you. Emmerich sent you to me? He studies you for a moment, then sighs and points at himself. Norach is Dustmen. Guard. Serve Dustmen interest. Protect Dustmen interest. Protect Dustmen reputation. The man sighs again. In the hive, many thieves. One thief wears robes of dustmen, but a dustman not. There's a thief disguised as a dustman.
Updated my journal.
Norach nods. Find him I cannot. Important to the dustmen it is. I could track him down for you. Norach nods again. For making my troubles your troubles, copper coins will I pay. Find the not dustman, deal with him, then return. Norach will wait. Very well, I will return when I have found this not dustman. Farewell. And I believe he also had the, You see Norach. He's pulling out one of his spikes of hair and using it to scratch a spot on his face. You can't help but think he'd look a lot better with dreadlocks. I'm here about the posting outside. The dustman looks you up and down. Many troubles have I. Help can you. A mausoleum awakes, the dead walk, the dead disturbed, the dustmen disturbed. Find out what disturbs the undead, and copper coins will I pay. Very well. Where is the mausoleum?
Updated my journal.
Norach nods. Mausoleum by Dustman Memorial. Go north and west from Black Monument. Go to Arch, and a semicircle over your heart with this finger make. He wiggles the index finger on his right hand. To the mausoleum, go you will. I'll look into it then. Farewell. Old Copper Eyes. Before you is a tall, silent figure. He could easily pass for a statue, although the deep furrows in his face and brow make you wonder if the sculptor was a little too eager in defining the face with the chisel. He looks well over 50 years old, but exactly how much over 50, it's hard to tell. As he slowly turns to look at you, you catch the dull sheen of copper in his eyes. Greetings. Old Copper Eyes stares at you. His eyes are difficult to make out past the black well of his eye sockets, but they look to have a coppery sheen about them. I have some questions. Old Copper Eyes says nothing. Okie dokie. You know what? Let's get him talking. I'm looking to sign one of the dead contracts. Copper Eyes makes the barest of nods and slowly reaches into his dustman robes with both hands. With his left hand, he pulls forth a small bag of human skin. With his right hand, he draws forth a piece of parchment folded around a fingerbone pin. The bag and the parchment are slowly laid on the table in front of you. Examine the bag. The bag is full of coppers. There looks to be about 100 in there. 100? I think the other guy offered me 50. I don't remember how much Mortai offered me. So, we'll be back. Copper Eyes says nothing, simply reaches for the bag and the parchment and draws them into the folds of his robe. How much did Mortai? How much was he offering? Got some questions. I'd like to sign a contract. Tell me about that contract. 50 commons. No. Okay, Old Copper Eyes, your 100 commons wins. Can sign a dead. Whoops. Looking to sign one of the dead contracts. Examine the bag. Looks to be about 100. Pick up the parchment and examine it. It's a contract that entitles the Dustman to take possession of the signer's body after he has passed beyond the eternal boundary. The signer, in exchange, receives a monetary sum from the Dustman, agreed upon at the time of the signing. You assume the sum in the bag is the amount you will receive for signing the contract. Alright, let's sign. As you finish signing, Copper Eyes nods at the bag to his left. As he does, the contract parchment vanishes from the table and into the folds of his robe. I had some questions. Copper Eyes says nothing. Okie dokie. Awaiting death. Before you is a young dustman with stubble on his chin and dark circles beneath his eyes. He's staring at the wall with a somber expression. Greetings. The dustman doesn't look up. He stares straight ahead as if he is seeing something several leagues beyond the walls of the bar. Can I ask you some questions? The dustman doesn't respond. He keeps staring into the distance. Alrighty then, Mort hisses at you. Let's go, Chief. This dusty might as well be the fertilizer. Fair enough. Let's get out of here. As you turn to leave, the dustman suddenly speaks, his voice barely a murmur. You have to strain to hear the words. You think you said something about a contract. What did you say? The dustman turns to you, his face like stone, his eyes dead. Why did you sign that dead contract? Well, considering that Death and I aren't on speaking terms anymore, I considered it a no-lose proposition. He looks at you with an odd expression. What do you mean? I don't know. I've yet to see what lies beyond death and remember it. If I die again, perhaps then I could speak of it. The dustman blinks and then sneers. You lie. No man can die more than once, not without being resurrected by mighty magics. Resurrected? Resurrected, brought back to life. The magic required is indeed powerful. Who would be capable of such power? A powerful sorcerer or priest, or one of the powers, but not anyone I know, he frowns. And I don't believe you know of anyone of that sort either. You don't believe I can't die. I can prove it to you. What do you mean? He looks like he wants to turn away, but he cannot. You can't seriously. Take your hands, twist your neck. Okay. Your vision slowly returns. Your death felt different this time. You see a waiting death standing above you. He looks horrified and fascinated. He has propped you into a chair and is looking apprehensively at the other bar patrons. They don't appear to have noticed or have mistaken you for a drunk. Convinced now? Are you of the Walking Dead? No. Then what are you? I don't know, but I die and am reborn. Yet you still think, you still feel. Yes, but there is a hollowness. Something is missing, and it eats at you, never leaves you at peace. To be dead and still think and feel? Will misery never leave a body be? The thought seems to horrify him. Even death is no release. Indeed, perhaps you should not be so quick to abandon this life before knowing what the next life holds for you. The boy falls silent, thinking. Eventually he turns back up to you. Your words carry weight, sir, and a fresh perspective. I will do as you have said. That is all I ask. Live, grow old, and learn. Farewell.
Ooh, looks like my skills have increased.
Hey, another 500 experience.
What's up?
Mort gained a level. So, let's level up. Another 9 hit points. That is close to max. Mort is getting very lucky on his rolls. And, I think that's it. Can we talk to the barkeep? I don't think there is a barkeep. This female corpse is dressed in a heavy burlap shirt covered with food and wine stains. Her lips have been stitched closed and her arms and legs are wrapped in several layers of bandages. The bandages seem to have been soaked in preservatives to keep the corpse fresh, As a result, the corpse's rotting odor has been replaced with an equally repulsive vinegar smell. Nope. As you turn away, you notice Mort staring at you. Eh? Eh? What is it? Did you see the way that cadaverous beauty was staring at me? Mort's teeth chatter as if in anticipation. She was looking for some lucky cutter to thaw her coffin. Please don't start this again. Mort ignores you and becomes thoughtful. I don't really mind the attention, actually. It's just that I like to be seen as something more than just a skull, you know? I have feelings that go beyond my base animal instincts. I want courtship, not some fortnight fling around the mausoleum. Mort, you are a skull. Nobody can help but see you as a skull. Accept it. Yeah, well, I may be just a skull, but I've got a big heart. Actually, you don't have one of those. What, were you dumped into my life to spit on my dreams and aspirations? Fine, be that way then. I don't have a heart, but I do have a soul. Whatever, Mort. Let's go.
I'm gone.
I hope I'm not making him upset. Because, you know, I know what he meant by I have a heart. I was just trying to be jokey, you know. Well, there's the mausoleum. Do we go into the mausoleum?
All right.
Yeah, let's try. What the heck? Actually, you know what? We'll do that later. Maybe there's more people to talk to. Davos, Harlot, Live Tout, Porphyron,
I'm gone.
Molt. Oh, Porphyron. Every inch of this man's skin is covered in a web of black lines. It's as if some artist chose to accentuate every crease in his flesh with a quill pen. The overall effect is such that even when his face shows no expression, he appears to be frowning. Greetings. This one has a name. This one is called Porphyron. The man's voice is like a gong as he speaks. The lines on his face bend and settle into a series of spherical patterns. This one would know. Why do you address this one? I wanted to ask you some questions. This one would have you know, this one cannot answer your questions. The lines on his face twist into angles, then split into a mess of scribbles. This one has only recently stepped foot in this place of walls. Alright then, but I have to ask you this. Why do those lines upon your face move? The lines show anger. Do you take offense? The lines slowly straighten, forming into gentle curves. No offense was meant. Will you accept the many apologies of this one? No offense taken, but why are you angry? This one tells of event recent. Did you know this one was beset by three? The three demanded an item of this one. This one feared an attack. What does this one do? This one surrendered the item. Well, you were right to be afraid. If there were three, then they might have killed you had you not given up the item. This one has been misunderstood. The lines on his face become angled and then smooth into curves again. This one did not fear being killed. This one feared killing the three. Well, if you could have killed them, why did you let them rob you? This one walks the path of a warrior. Many weapons have walked with this one. The fist, the blade, the stave, the hatchet, the smiter. These tools are all known to this one. That's not much of an explanation. Again, if you're a warrior with that much training, why let them rob you? This one is forbidden to attack. The lines ripple across his face as he speaks. If this one had struck at the three in anger, the vow of non-violence would be unmade. Vow of non-violence. You're a warrior and pacifist? This one is unfamiliar with your speech. What is this pacifist? Never mind. Why did you train so much if you are not permitted to attack another? This one is of the Order of Erit Ag. We await the final days where all will be called to battle. The training and skills of this one, they are to be kept silent until then. In the meantime, you will let yourself be robbed in the street without defending yourself. This one will clarify. The item is of value. The discipline of the Erit Ag is of greater value. Since you won't fight, is there any chance you could talk these thieves into returning your item? This one addresses the 3 thieves. What happens? The requests of this one are met with scorn. The 3 will not return the item. I could go see if I could get the item back for you. This one must ask, would you bring violence to the 3 that have robbed this one? Well, if they aren't smart enough to hand it over when I ask, things could get ugly. The lines on the man's face form into a series of overlapping ellipses. If that is the message they understand, then that is how the message may be conveyed. Alright then, what is this item you've lost? The item is this, a rope of black and red prayer beads worn around the neck. The worth of these beads is not measured in copper. The worth of these beads is measured in faith. Alright then, I'll see if I can find this necklace. Do you know where these 3 thugs might be? This one knows where the angry words were traded and the item lost, by the bar that burns inside. The 3 were outside the place, dressed in black and red. 3 robbers dressed in red and black outside a bar that burns on the inside. That can't be too hard to find. Farewell.
Updated my journal.
Hello, Molt. This man appears less dour and wary of passerby than the people around him. He moves with an upbeat gait, casually scanning the ground to either side of him as he goes. As you approach him, he nods a friendly greeting. Greetings. Hello, Cutter. Say, you seen any debtors about? None nearby, no. I had some questions. Too bad, too bad, he shrugs. Had some questions, did ye? Ask away, then. What are you looking for? Debtors, of course. Don't you recognize the robes of a collector? He grabs a hold of the cloth and holds it up for your inspection. No. Aye, collectors, he indicates his ragged brown robes. These here are collector's robes, Cutter. Any poor sod ye see wearing these, me for instance, is most likely looking for debtors. Bodies to sell at the mortuary. He shrugs. Whatever it takes to get by in the hive, right? Ha. Do the collectors work together? He laughs heartily. Hells no, we all dress the same, but there's only so many debtors to go around. We band up usually, and competing bands, packs, gangs, whatever you like to call them, aren't none too friendly with one another. Are there rival packs of collectors near here? He nods. Sir, sigils round. Most collectors in the hive call Kip and Rag Picker Square, a dump just north of here through the large gate. It's mostly run by Sharegrave's laddos now, since we fought most of Farad's boys off. Tell me about Farad. Don't know much about the man myself. We spent a lot of time fighting his boys, but they've all suddenly disappeared, along with Farad. We still catch the occasional straggler in Ragpicker Square, but we've no idea where the rest are hiding at. Does he have many men left? He must, 'cause we hear his lot's been real successful late, finding lots of debtors, making lots of jink off the dusties at the mortuary. Don't know how, either, as we've been having trouble finding corpses of late. He shrugs. Tell me about Sharegrave. Sharegrave? He's my boss. I never speak with him, though. Never even seen him too close like. Keeps to himself mostly, and runs things through a few underlings. You can find him in his case at Ragpicker Square, but I'd stay away unless you got a good reason to talk to him. He's a bit peery of strangers, he is. I had some other questions. Ask away, Cutter. Mayhap I'll get lucky and someone will key over and die while we're chatting, haha. Wow. I'm searching for a journal. No, I haven't run across one. Tell you what, though, if I do, I'll hold on to it for you. Thanks, I'd appreciate that. Farewell. And farewell to you too, Cutter. He waves and walks off. Fleece. Uh-oh, hive thugs.
Come on, Cutter, come on in here. You want to sleep outside? It's cold out here. Come on inside.
Hello, Fleece. You see a man who is looking around at the buildings with some confusion. He looks lost and is mumbling to himself. Greetings. The man looks relieved. At last! I beg your indulgence, good sir. I seem to have gotten turned around in this maze of streets. He chuckles uncomfortably. I'm afraid this area of the city is somewhat, He glances around apprehensively. Unknown to me. The residents seem most unwilling to extend aid to a visitor. He looks at you hopefully. Could I prevail upon you to help me, perchance? Depends on what kind of help you need. I seek the house of my Aunt Marguerite. She is reported to dwell on a house close to the mortuary, but the street layout seems to have changed since my last visit. Do you know of the house of which I speak? I'm afraid that I have never heard of such a place. The man frowns in disappointment. I suppose it would have been too much good fortune to hope that you would know of such a place. He nods silently and thinks. Well, I thank you for your time, good sir. It is most welcome on these streets. Farewell. You are about to turn away when you suddenly have a feeling that something is amiss. Suspicious, you glance at the man again, just in time to see him withdrawing his hand from your purse. You can't be sure, but you think he might have taken something from you. Let's bait him into pickpocketing you again and observe his technique. Wow, got experience from that. 1250. You engaged a man in light conversation and secretly study his movements. The man seems to rely on two things. One, pretending to be a high-class citizen out of his element to lower the target's guard. And two, distracting the mark by having the victim point out directions. When the victim turns to point at a street or landmark, the man skims the mark's purse and tucks items into his conveniently long sleeves. You make a mental note of his technique, just as he makes another grab for your purse. Let's grab his hand. You are not fast enough. He yanks his hand back before you can grab it. With a yelp, he bolts, running down the street. Alright then. I'm not sure killing him would be the best option.
Yeah?
But come on, Mort. I'd go help you, but there's hive thugs. That's what I thought. Alright, Mort. Attack the thugs. This whole running away baloney is... ugh. Come on. Really?
Did you see that?
Damn.
Where's the quick loot? Quick loot. Clock charm. Normally I do not do the quick loot thing, but since that's a travel area, I figured it was prudent to do so. Alright. There's a black Abishai walking around, so I'm gonna save and talk to it. Because this will probably go bad. This black-scaled reptile towers to a height of 8 feet. Its great height, however, is offset by its thin, snake-like frame. A long, prehensile tail drags behind it, and its leathery wings are hooked behind its back. A strong vinegary smell emanates from the creature, as well as a certain amount of heat. It seems to be ignoring you. Greetings. Whoa, Chief. Mort cuts in before you can speak to the creature. Bar that, you don't want to be a rat when you're bone box with any fiend on the street. Leave be. I wanted to ask it some questions. No, you don't. Mort glances at the creature, then turns back to you and lowers his voice to a whisper. They're touchy. Let's just go. I'll risk it. The black-scaled fiend towers to it. Greetings. The creature slowly turns its head down to look at you. Its scaled forehead wrinkles into a frown, then it opens its mouth, giving a low, rasping hiss. You notice that the heat radiating from the creature begins to rise. I would speak to you for a moment. The creature opens its mouth, displaying a row of blackened fangs. Fire begins to dance around the shoulders and arms of the creature as it gives a long, low hiss. I do not think... we'll just leave him alone.
Hey, you! Hey, Cutter, come on inside and get warm! We'll give you a nice bed!
One ear. Actually, wait, I haven't been doing... Vines with black leaves. The stems look extremely sharp. Ooh. Okay. Hello, One Ear. You see a shady-looking fellow standing before you, picking his teeth with what appears to be a tiny metal fork. His chest is covered by patchwork armor adorned with large spikes, and a long knife hangs at his side. You notice he is missing his right ear. Greetings.
Updated my journal.
He regards you coolly from the shadows as he's sizing you up. Oh, man. I had some questions. The one-eared tiefling scours at you threateningly. Pike off, Burke, or I'll have your guts for garters. Oh, nope. Whatever, bud. Hey, there's Fleece. More hive thugs.
Damn it. Damn it.
Come on, Mort. Well, we are still true neutral, so I'll take it. 3 copper.
I'm gone.
What the heck are those things? Come here. Psst, hey you. Hello, Mar. Your first impression of Mar is that he needs a long bath, preferably away from any creature that has any sense of smell. You can almost see the stench waft from his body in sinister yellow tendrils. He motions towards you frantically in an effort to get you to come over and talk to him. Approach and hear what he has to say. A look of excitement crosses his face as you approach. Thank you for stopping. Me name is Mar, and I have a favor to ask ye. I'm listening. 'Tis a matter of life and death. I must be delivered this here box, or it'd be me head for sure. 'Tis me bad luck that I twisted me leg something fierce. So will you help me out by delivering this here box for me? Sure, I'll deliver the box. Mar slowly takes out a small box from within the recesses of his ragged clothing. For the briefest of moments, you see a look of regret cross his face, then it is gone as he looks at you and hands you the box. A slight shimmer surrounds the box as both you and Mar touch it. A sigh of relief is heard as Mar releases the box into your care. What now? This be needing to be delivered to Kawatra. He can usually be found somewheres down in the southeastern section of the hive. Oh, and lest you try to say I didn't warn you, whatever happens, don't open the box. And don't leave the hive with the box. Now be off with ye. I'll be back when I deliver the box.
Updated my journal.
Hee hee hee. And he runs away.
Done.
So... This appears to be a small wooden box. Intricate designs etched in gold adorn the box. At one time, this box would have been worthy enough to be displayed in any aristocrat's estate. However, years of neglect have taken their toll and it appears to be falling apart. If not for the large ruby mounted to the front of the box, it would be worthless. Feelings of dread seem to emanate from the box. Okay. Hello, Hive Thug.
Hey, you! Hey, Cutter, come on inside and get warm. We'll get you in a nice bed.
What?
All right.
Mort, what the heck
What's
are you
up,
doing?
Chief?
Mort, what the heck
I'm
are
gone.
you doing? Alright, let's go in. Hive Dweller, Barriar, Arlo, Nestor. You see a short, balding man standing in what serves as the foyer to this ramshackle flophouse. His bushy brows are furrowed in concentration as he picks at what appears to be scabs on his large, bulbous nose. Nice. Greetings. The man doesn't bother to look up. Instead, he continues to stare cross-eyed down at his nose. Yeah, what do you want? I had some questions. Well, ain't that nice? He flashes you a sarcastic yellow-toothed smile. And I'm sure you'll find your answer someday, but I've got me a business to run. So if you don't want a bed, then I suggest you pike off. I see. Can I have a bed then? Sure you can, Burke, if you got the jink for it. Nobody puts up here for free, except old Nestor over there, and that's only 'cause no one's addle covered enough to mess with him. Tell me about this Nestor. Nestor's that barmy old sod in the corner there. He hikes a thumb over his shoulder toward the back of the room. Watch your step around him, Burke. He's not right in the head, always rattling his bone box about his fork and all. I wish someone would do us all a favor and gets rid of him. Why don't you get rid of him yourself? You don't think I've tried? I have. And look where I gets for my effort. He leans face forward and points at the bleeding scabs on his nose. The barmy sod nearly bit me nose off. Yeah, I could get rid of him for you. I'll tell you what, Cutter. If you can get rid of him for me, you can stay here for free as often as you like. Deal? Fair enough.
Updated my journal.
Well, then don't just stand around gawking. Gets to it. He immediately returns to his scab picking. Can't you see I'm a busy man? Yeah, sure you are, bud.
I'm gone.
Nothing. You see the tall figure of a creature standing before you. The lower portion of its body resembles that of a goat. However, just above its powerful forelegs, its shape takes on a more human appearance, with a man's torso, arms, and head, all of which are covered in polished armor. The creature's eyes are closed and it appears to be sleeping. Greetings. The creature snorts briefly, but its eyes remain shut. Apparently it is not a light sleeper. Okay. Hello, Nestor. You see an aging man in soiled and tattered clothes frantically pacing in the corner. His shock of filthy white hair sticks out in every direction, and his face, encrusted with dirt and streaks of dried blood, is covered with gray stubble. Every few seconds he stops pacing and flails about suddenly, muttering and cursing as if assaulted by some unseen foe. He does not seem to notice your approach. Greetings. At the sound of your voice, the old loon whirls about to face you, his wide, staring eyes bulging in their sockets. He regards you for a brief moment, then returns to his raving. No, 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 it's not you, hoo-hoo, but soon, yes, soon. Are you the one they call Nestor? The old man seems oblivious to your presence. Hoo-hoo-hoo, you'll come, yes, you'll come. Old Nestor will be waiting. Waiting? Who are you waiting for? Waiting, yes. He suddenly plops down on the floor as if overcome by exhaustion. Long have I waited, waiting. He takes a deep breath and springs back to his feet. Wait forever if I have to. Do you hear me? Are you alright? No! Nestor's face turns beet red and his whole body shakes in protest. My fork! Can't leave without my fork! Hoo-hoo-hoo! Fork, fork, fork! Your fork? Fork? Fork! Fork! Can't go home without my fork! Nestor's frenzy reaches a violent crescendo. He begins hopping up and down maniacally, then suddenly stops, lowering his head and runs headlong into a large wooden cupboard that stands against the back of the wall of the flophouse. The force of the impact knocks the old man flat on his back. After a few seconds, he stands back up, a dazed expression on his face. Gone, stolen, can't go home without my fork. Stolen, you say? Who took your fork? Nestor stares at you for a long moment and begins rummaging through the pockets of his filthy tunic. After a few seconds, he produces what appears to be a dismembered ear. Judging by the stench and color of the ear, you'd wager that the old man has been toting it around in his pocket for some time. You have my fork, don't you? Don't you? Hoo-hoo. He holds the ear close as if speaking to it. Bring back my fork! If I can find you a fork, will you leave? Waiting! Ooh! He shakes the ear violently as he shouts into it. Until you bring it back, and then I can go home. Right. I'll find your fork then.
Updated my journal.
Alright, One Ear. Time to have a little chat.
Alright.
Oh, the Hive Tug is back. Tug. Thug. Hive Thug. Hello, Mr. One Ear. The one-eared tiefling scowls at you threateningly. Pike off, Burke, or I'll have your guts for garters. So, how did you lose that ear? What did you just say? His right hand drifts to the hilt of his knife. Just curious, behind every scar is a good tale. As you can see, I speak from experience. Aye, it do look as though you've seen your share of slashing. He manages a small chuckle, then runs his fingers across the scars on the side of his head. At least you still have both ears. What happened? A while back, I bobbed an old petitioner's sod. His face takes on a sullen expression as he begins to relate the tale. The silly blighter wouldn't go along with it. Go on. So I has to get rough with the old sod, and while we was scrapping, he gets a hold of my ear and bites it clean off. Then what happened? What do you think happened? The barmy sod bit my ear off, so I thumped his skull and put him in the dead book. I'm right sorry I did, too. He glances around nervously before continuing. I think a spirit's haunting me. Haunting you? He nods and quickly traces a semicircle over his heart. Aye, 'tis true. Sometimes I hear his voice in me head cursing and telling me how he's waiting for me. Scares the pants off of me, it does. Maybe I can help you lay his spirit to rest, stop him from haunting you. He takes a step back from you and cocks his head slightly. You can do that. How? Give me what you stole from him, and I'll see to it that he goes away. I don't know what you're talking about, Burke. He glares at you angrily. Now I suggest you get your mangled carcass out of my sight before I carve my name into you. Certainly. Just give me the fork you stole from him, and I'll be on my way. With a flash of movement too quick to follow, he whips his knife from its sheath and begins waving it menacingly before you. Why don't you come and take it from me, Burke? Look, why don't you put that blade away before you get hurt? You sure do have a sharp tongue, Burke. I think I'll cut it out and feed it to you. He lunges at you, his knife leading the way.
I'm gone.
What's the word, Chief? Did you see that?
I'm gone.
Damn it.
I feel stronger.
High quality stiletto. Leave the rusty dagger, small fork. 1 to 4 piercing. 1 to 4 piercing. Weight 0, speed 1. And it's an edged weapon, 1 to 2 piercing. This fork is definitely no prize piece of cutlery. Its steel finish is scratched and slightly bent, and its tines are crusted with dirt. Alright.
Come on, Critter, come on in here. You want to sleep outside? It's cold out here. Come on inside. We got a warm bed.
Guess we'll level up. 10 hit points. I rolled max. Wow. 1 characteristic point gained. Fighting skills have improved. Saving throws have improved. Yes. Where to spend the old thingamajig. Well, since we are obviously not going a fighter route, I mean, I could put points in strength, I guess, but we seem to be more built for a wizard priest, although we are more suited even for a thief than a fighter, even though our dex kind of sucks. I can increase wisdom. I think I said that before. Let's go with another intelligence. Nah, charisma. Alright, Nestor. Got your fork. Fork. The old man stops his frantic pacing and glances at you nervously. Fork? Can't go home without my fork. Is this the fork you speak of? Nestor hastily snatches up the fork. My fork! Hoo-hoo! He hops up and down excitedly, waving the fork back and forth in an elaborate pattern above his head, as if he were performing some sort of ritual. Now we can go home. Farewell. Hoo-hoo. Farewell, Nestor. Nestor turns to leave, then as if struck with some afterthought, he turns back around and hands you a scrap of something soft and rubbery, the severed ear. Upon closer examination, you notice that there's an earring still dangling from it. Pocket the earring and discard the rotting piece of flesh.
Updated my journal. Done.
So, Nestor's gone home, eh? Maybe old Saw wasn't so barmy after all. He gives you a hearty slap in the back. Now maybe we can all get some rest around here. Feel free to set up Kip here anytime, Cutter.
Updated my journal.
Wow, another 500. Well, how the heck? 10% stealth skill bonus, only usable by thieves. This small earring is made from polished obsidian. Despite the smoothness of its surface, it reflects no light whatsoever. Commonly referred to as a rogue's best friend, the black gem this earring is made from possesses magical properties that absorb light, making it easier for its wearer to move undetected in the shadows. Okay.
I'm gone.
Go to Ragpicker Square. But we'll go down here for now.
Done.
And we will explore this area in the next episode. But for now, this is Mink saying goodbye.